I want to talk to Alex. Alex, who's calling in from New York. Alex, what's going on?
Hey, Dan. Hey, guest.
Yeah.
You know, I always forget your guest's name.
This is Ceasetoknow. Ceasetoknow from Axioms on Trial.
How are you doing?
How you guys doing today?
We're doing good. Having a really interesting discussion. I hope other people find this interesting. I understand that these diatribes on philosophy can sometimes be a bore to people, but in the right context, I think it's pretty fun. So, what's up, Alex?
Side note, I think philosophy should be more taught in schools, honestly. I think at least Psychology 101 should be at least free, but that's a side point that I did not want to talk about. I wanted to talk to you guys about how to deal with somebody who has gaslit you in the past. I wanted to get your opinions on how to deal with somebody like that.
Yeah, give me an example. Like, what specifically? Sounds like, is this something you're dealing with right now?
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys know about this or not. I'm pretty sure you know. I was raised up in a cult. I was a Pentecostal Christian for most of my life, and I was gaslit a lot as a child. Let's just leave it at that for now.
Sure.
That's all the context you really need for now.
Yeah. Gaslighting is a hard thing to deal with. I think most people who have deconstructed from a pretty hardcore religious faith have to deal with this on some level. I've had to deal with this for my deconstruction because I have had people, there's comments out there people who have seen my story and know what I'm about who said, well, it's so sad that Dan became this person that he is, and that if only he read apologetics, or if only he did this and this, he could have been this person that he is. If only he knew about, the such and such, then we could prevent this thing from happening. Well, the truth is, I did read a lot of apologetics. I had lots of conversations with people, and I had a lot of thought put into it. So this was never an issue of me not thinking it through enough, or me not exploring this enough with other people. I definitely did. It's just the conclusions I came to are different from the person who is, quote unquote, gaslighting my experience, right? It sucks. I've had to deal with that in person and just online. It's out there. For myself, I have to say the best that I've been able to deal with that is just to stick to my own convictions, stick to what I know to be true. I have personal writings on my own experiences when I was dealing with it at the time, and I'm lucky enough to where I have a whole conversation of myself on YouTube when I was a Christian. So I know what I was about, I know who I was, and there I am for people to see. Other people can make judgments about me all day, but I truly have to stick to my guns and know where I'm at and who I'm about first. And the people who have stuck through that, they know that too. And they know that the only thing that I've changed since then is that I'm more honest and open about how I'm thinking and feeling, and don't have to hide it as much as I used to. I used to have these kinds of conversations in clandestine. I definitely wasn't as open about a lot of the thoughts that I have now, but now I get to be it. And that's such an amazing, freeing thing that I hope you can feel too, if you don't feel that already, and other people can feel if you feel like you're being gaslit about your specific situation. But it's tough. It's super, super tough. And my only advice is you got to stick to your guns. You got to be true to yourself.
And I want to add to that ultimately you can't control other people's behaviors and thoughts. If you're interested in maintaining a relationship with this person, the best you can do is try to honestly engage them, to tell them your experience, to tell them how you feel about it. And then if they're unwilling to give you the respect of trying to hear you out, well, then maybe it's just not a relationship worth keeping, or keeping it with the understanding that they're not going to give you what you want from them. You know yourself, you know what you went through, and that's what matters the most. You can't control other people to see reality for what it is sometimes. And just like you said, just stick to your guns and try to be the best person that you can.
I guess that's a little bit harder for some cases where you don't really have any other support systems out there.
It can be really hard, absolutely. but at the same time, it's like if they're unwilling. I mean, I'm a big believer in therapy and group therapy, and but again, it requires the other party to come into the conversation in good faith, to try to come into the conversation with an open mind. If they're unwilling to do that, you can't necessarily make them do that. It's a really unfortunate situation that a lot of people who have had the religion deconstructed find themselves in. Because a lot of people aren't willing to really engage those issues in an honest way.
It's true. And plus, a lot of people do that sometimes out of projection, a fear that they themselves could be like how you were, a non-believer in some sense, right? And when framed from the believer's perspective, that's one of the worst things you can do, because like having the faith, at least from my religious background, that was the most important thing. You always had to have the faith, no matter what. Even if you were having doubts, you still had to have some core of belief at the end of the day. And so when you lose that, that's scary for people, because that also questions their own systems of belief, right? And that's a threat. That's a threat to some people's stability. Some people have built their entire careers off of having beliefs like that. I started off, I thought I was going to work in the Christian nonprofits. I had several jobs working through Christian organizations, and I had this idea that God was going to provide a life path for me, and losing that belief was really scary. I didn't know how to figure things out for myself, but I got over it eventually, and here I am today. I think fairly well adjusted, but hey, so for some people, it's going to be a hard experience to just have that conversation in general. And the fact that some people just can't accept that you are who you are, that's their problem. That's not your problem, right?
I want to point something out. And I'm going to do this very selectively, because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but the facts don't really care about feelings.
Sure.
You guys know what the 3 degrees of cults are, correct? You know everything about the bite model.
Yes, I'm familiar with the bite model.
Okay. So using the bite model, I think we can both agree that 90% of religions fall under the 2nd degree of cult. Most theistic religions.
Right.
And a lot.
Yeah, I don't know if I could make really grand sweeping statements like that without really thinking about it at first, but I'll let you give your opinion on it and we can go from there.
What I'm trying to get at is the black and white ideology under most models of theistic religions that I have looked into, mostly the Abrahamic ones. I have not really looked into the Hindu ones or Buddhism too much, or any of the polytheistic religions. So when I speak about this, I only speak about the Abrahamic ones.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of black and white thinking that goes into theistic religions, unfortunately. I would agree with you there.
For sure.
But what's your point?
The point is, I just feel like it's a problem.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I think it's more of a problem than I want to tackle, and that any one person should tackle. And I think you guys are doing great. It's just,
I mean, that's part of why we're doing what we're doing.
Maybe there's a better way about going about this.
Yes. So let me. I see where you're getting at here, Alex. At least I think I do. Let me make this super, super clear. Okay. When I say that it's their problem and they have to deal with it, what I mean is for your own personal safety and mental health, it is not befallen upon you to get the people in your personal life to be convinced, that they're wrong and that they're gaslighting you, right? I get that. What I mean is, I think that we do have a social responsibility overall to try to help people get out of black and white thinking and get out of these kinds of things. That's why I do a show like this. But there's also going to be limits to that. I have family members that do not agree with me, and then I don't talk to them about this stuff anymore. And that's just for my own sake, and that's for their sake. And that's unfortunate, but that's pretty much every person who's on YouTube doing this stuff has a story like that. And that's okay. We don't have to get every single person, but there's always going to be people who need help. There's always going to be people that can need help, for sure.
Also, don't forget that we do live in a situation where there are avenues to build other support systems.
Yes.
I know it's hard for some people to harder for some than for others. But I think it's easier now than I think it's ever been to find a support system outside of the circle that may not be meeting the requirements necessary for own well-being.
Yes. I don't put it all on you to be the person to convince them, right? I don't think that's healthy. I think you have to take things a day at a time and realize that at the end of the day, people are probably not going to see the same things with you all the time. You may get some places with people and you may change their mind on stuff, but don't think of it as like a failing if you can't, because that's just not a reasonable expectation to set on yourself.
Sorry about that. I was getting something to drink real quick. But yeah, I completely agree with you.
Well, good, Alex.
I agree with you guys.
Good. I sincerely hope that your situation with the people in your life who are gaslighting you gets better. I hope you're able to find peace with yourself, and I hope that you're able to at least convince them of something for your own sake. But I stand by this in that it is not everyone's personal responsibility to get your family members to absolutely believe and accept you for just who you are. And that's a sad thing to say. I think we should try, certainly, but it's not your fault if they don't. I think I felt a little bit of that too when I was first like really getting into this stuff, and I just felt alone in talking to people about this stuff. I didn't really get why people weren't seeing things the way I was, but I also had a unique life experience that led me to this point. It wasn't just an accepting of arguments. It was, a life that was lived, and other people have to live their lives too in order to sort of get to that place where they can be ready for that. And that's all I want to say about that. Ceasetoknow, you have anything to add?
No, I mean, the only thing I can really say is that ultimately it's your life. Like you do the best you can to help other people see things more clearly, but it's not your responsibility ultimately. And I know it can be very hard to be in that kind of situation. All I would think is it's important to kind of branch out and find the kind of circles when possible that will help you be the happiest that you can be.
Absolutely.